Claude Sirius, bearer of the title of first-class magician, of whom there were only 10 of this world, was said to be powerful enough to move the stars. At 17, he was the youngest professor ever assigned to the Royal Magic Academy. This charismatic young man, who was known for his contributions to magic education, vanished mysteriously one day. Aria Aquarius would shout, asking if her friend was serious about flying. She'd be in serious trouble if she fell from the height of the cliff. Our heroine, Spica Virgo, answered, "Just watch me." She called the air to grant her strength and freedom. With the wind racing through the skies to free her from the ground, she took off for flight. Just kidding. She'd come running down the hill, spitting out and crashing, ending up in shambles as Aria laughed at her. She never got bored of watching Spica, giving her some credit for surviving with just a bloody nose. Even so, Spica was determined to become a magician, and she wouldn't lose heart over this. She had to get into the Royal Diana Academy, where Master Claude taught, study there, and become a first-class mage like him. Aria poked her cheek, asking how, since Spica couldn't even cast a single spell. Spica assured her she was still practicing. She did flight training every day. Aria brushed her aside, mentioning she had weird taste, considering most people thought Claude was past his prime. When the cultists attacked Diana 2 years ago, he ran off like a coward instead of protecting his students. Spica told her to shut up. No one told her who she should look up to. Aria would hug her affectionately, asking if she was mad. She was just worried about Spica, especially since she was going to fail at this rate. She suggested Spica get a tutor at this point, but Spica didn't have money and had too many siblings. She had to teach herself. Aria was fine with it, since they were both Diana hopefuls. And as a genius, Aria promised to teach her friend Aquarius magic. She summoned a torrent of water from the well, shaping it into a heart. Spica lit up until Aria told her, "You can pay me with your body." Oh, here we go. Here's the Yuri people are always asking me for. Spica said screw Aria. On a rooftop, she was determined to get this on her own. She kept telling herself, I can. And jumping off, she snapped her broom in half, smashing onto the ground. With a bloody nose again, she thought about Aria telling her she was going to fail. She knew that there was less than a year until the exam. She had to do something, but didn't even know anyone who was a magician. That's when a black cat with a teenage boy's voice told her to keep it down because he was enjoying his nap, and to go somewhere else if she wanted to keep falling. He also called her stupid. Spica couldn't believe this cat was talking, and now questioned if she gained magic that let her talk to animals. He couldn't believe she could understand him. Now she was worried he was a monster cat. He placed his paw on her lap, casting Sagittarius magic to shoot her up with a gale. And when she fell back down, he told her to never call him a monster cat again. He'd let her know that he was formerly a human magician. He'd been cursed to take this form, but he could still use some magic. She'd bow, telling him to please let her call him master. She didn't care if he was stuck in cat form. She needed him to teach her magic because she wanted to get into Diana Academy. He questioned her seriousness. Diana was the highest level magic academy there was, but that's exactly why she was begging him. He decided to leave since there was nothing in it for him, but she grabbed him, telling her woes of having no money. She'd do anything she could for him to teach her. He then gave her the freakiest face, going, "Anything?" She blushed, telling him if he wanted, she'd pay with her body and endure some embarrassment, wearing a swimsuit or whatever. He thought since she could talk to him and she'd do anything, he'd make use of this opportunity. And so, he told her he couldn't stand by and watch someone struggle. She'd coddle him while he'd kick himself off. And so, they'd head to the capital train. It was in the capital. He'd have her raise her arm and chant, "Gimme a cold beer." And a blonde baddie waitress told her, "Okay, 300 gold for a pint." This cat was going crazy drinking mug after mug. He'd ask the other ladies if they wanted to join him, and all they saw was a cute kitty. Spica started to choke him out, asking if he was serious about teaching her. She also didn't have money to pay for the beer, so it was on him. After throwing him down, she reflected on the fact that the other women only called him Kitty. She figured she really was the only one who could hear his voice. The cat, however, had enough fun with her. He decided to give her an impossible task and make her give up. He'd lead her to the royal library. They had everything, from picture books to magic tomes from across the nation, including a legendary grimoire that you wouldn't find anywhere else. One that granted wisdom to those who touch it, the Book of Providence. Spica didn't really get it, so he explained it was omniscience, the ability to see everything. He wanted her to use it to learn how to release him from this curse. But he didn't know exactly where this grimoire was, and wanted her to go through them all to find it eventually. The amount of books here was insurmountable, so he'd be fair. She only had 1 month. He'd love to help, but the moment any non-human tries to grab a book, the mother book overseeing the library detects it and sounds the alarm. And a guard shows up. This guard would shout, telling the filthy black cat to stop coming here. Spica got to work as the cat watched. He thought there was no way she'd find it in a month, and that having an apprentice was a pain. Nothing personal. Walking along, he'd take notice of a paper that read, "The Disappeared Claude Sirius." He got jump scared by a squealing girl. It was Spica, who read a book about transformation magic and got turned into a cat. He warned her to watch out, since some grimoires magic activated upon opening. She'd open one that summoned a horde of monsters, ones that make the books fly, and a too in-depth anatomy book. These grimoires were so scary, the cat doubted she'd last more than 3 days. However, day after day would go by. Betraying expectations, Spica continued going to the library. She'd one day pop open a book of ancient runes, hoping to find the Book of Providence through the use of an ancient language. The cat was caught off guard. He never expected her to be so studious. She also thought the same, but the more she read, the more she got interested, and now she wanted to learn more. The cat sighed, realizing he underestimated her. But unfortunately, the closing time bell rang, and today was the final day. She was out of time. She begged for more time, and he asked why she was so fixated on Diana. She told him she wanted to become a first-class mage like Master Claude. He wondered why, since people say he's a coward. But Spica didn't believe that rumor. She knew how strong he was. 2 years ago, when the cultists attacked Diana, she happened to be at the site of the terror attack that day and got caught up in it. People around her died one after another. The screaming and wailing got quieter and quieter. She thought she was going to die. She wanted to see her family again, and when she had just given up hope, Claude summoned a spell of blades and saved her. He'd fly down, telling her gently she did well staying alive, and that she was strong. She thought he was such a prince, there's no way he'd run away. She wanted to become someone like him, a strong magician who could put their life on the line to protect others. The cat's eyes widened, hearing this. He asked what she would get out of protecting strangers and called her an idiot. Spica got pouty, thinking her master was definitely a trash person, and maybe he should stay a cat, because he was at least cute. As he was leaving her behind, she noticed the giant book in the center of the library seemed to have hidden text on the cover. Translating the runes, she uttered, "The Inviter," and the book unsealed, revealing a hidden corridor before her in its pages. The cat figured the Book of Providence must be in there. Spica rushed through, finding a breathtaking starry space. The cat figured someone must have used magic to make this extra-dimensional library. This section must contain forbidden books and national treasure-grade grimoires. They'd get startled by the Book of Providence calling in a commanding voice. Spica couldn't believe this runestone was talking to them. The book already knew her name, however. It was all-knowing. He explained the cat was under a karmic curse. Unlike ordinary transformation curses, this type transferred the flesh to another being, a forbidden magic. Their body vanishes, and only their soul remains. The only way to turn him back was to use the rebirth magic Spica possessed. She didn't know she had that. The book asked if she never noticed that her wounds healed quickly. Oh, that kinda makes sense. She never sustained life-altering injuries from all those falls. She had a special magic, and now figured she'd for sure become first class like Claude. The cat finally saw this as its chance to be freed. The book told her in order to free the cat, she needed to inject her magic into him by kissing. She got flustered, saying she was a girl coming of age, and the cat told her to just pretend she was giving CPR. He wasn't even human right now. But to her, it'd be her first kiss, and she couldn't kiss someone who wasn't her lover. The book had to clarify something though. It wasn't on the lips, but the anus. Oh, nah. Even the cat decided to pass on that. The book would clarify that by injecting her magic through his butt, it'd ensure absorption quickly and effectively. But there's no way Spica was letting her first kiss be a butthole. Suddenly, they'd be met with a guard. He fell over, telling them to run. The library was under attack. A beast shot from the passageway. It was an Orthus, one of the mystical beasts that cultists used. The cultists were suppressed by the military after the incident 2 years ago, so the cat figured this was a straggler. Our heroes made a run for it, dodging a fiery blast from the Orthus. The cat told her to take care of things here. He'd go on ahead, and she grabbed him, asking if the line didn't usually go the other way. He'd become meek, telling her he was just a weak little kitty right now. There was only one option left now though. Once he was human, he'd have orders of magnitude more magic power. He told her to undo his curse. Something she really didn't want to though. But they were going to die here. She really didn't want to, given it would be the end of her maidenly virtue, and she'd rather die. He was fine with it, if that was the extent of her determination. He walked away, thinking all that talk earlier was just talk. They'd unfortunately get caught by the Orthus, and the fiery blast shooting directly at Spica. She knew she was dead. But then, the cat would block in front, as if he was Claude. He casted Whirlwind and staved it off, telling her to hurry and get out of here, blasting her away and leaving him to take the flames. She sulked on the other side, thinking she should have known there was no way she could protect people. She got rescued again. No, she swore she'd become a strong magician. She ran back, jumping through the flames, and picked up the passed out black cat. Thinking there were no options left, she decided to kiss his butt. And Claude Sirius asked who that dumb mutt thought he was barking at. He flew up above, mentioning he hadn't had his body for 2 years now. She couldn't believe it was him. He made a quick spell cast with Spica in his arms, using Sagittarius Grand Magic, Cryo Bow, Icing Arrow, uttering "Down boy," freezing the monster and taking it out. He didn't sense magic anymore and figured the cultist must have left. Floating down, Spica told him she couldn't believe he was Master Claude. She never thought he'd be such an asshole, and questioned if that kindness 2 years ago was an illusion. Before she could fully comprehend kissing his butt, he'd squeeze her cheeks, telling her to stop being disappointed by an idealized version of himself. She told him he wasn't kind at all, but on the inside, thought he looked so cool and princely, just like back then. Now that he was back, he didn't need her anymore. She'd jump on him to keep him, and he'd suddenly transform back into a cat again. Now the tables were turned. Since he did say he didn't need her anymore, she was leaving. He pleaded with her to stay since they were bound by fate, and she threatened to pull his tongue out. Claude asked Providence what happened, and the book explained Spica wasn't high enough level yet. Her XP bar was low. Unless she and the accursed were of equal level, the curse could not fully be undone, which meant he'd need to train Spica into becoming a first-class mage like him. She wondered if she could really do it, and Claude was serious about making her into one. He told her to call him Professor from now on. He was a professor at Diana, after all. He'd talk to the headmistress and get his job back. Her heart beat, realizing Claude was going to be her teacher, one-on-one. She felt like she was dreaming, but he had no idea what he was getting himself into. That he'd be in charge of a class full of problem students, known to Diana as Pandora's Box. Spica jolted awake from a bad dream where she was about to kiss Claude's butt again. Not the best angle to view a cat from. She'd then see Claude banging on her window, yelling at her to get up. However, she was still trying to recover from that embarrassing dream. Soon after, her magic lessons began. Claude asked if she knew what the most important thing about using magic was. She answered that it was a willingness to dream. He would give her the most disgusted expression in response. Then, he told her it was her magic affinity. This was the type of magic one was born with. It was hard to acquire any magic that wasn't the type you were attributed to. Without an affinity for flying, she would never get off the ground on her own. Spica figured this was why she couldn't fly. Flying magic was attributed to Sagittarius and Aries. Meanwhile, she was a Virgo. One's type was determined by the 12 zodiac constellations. Virgo was associated with Demeter, the goddess of fertility. According to Claude, that meant Spica was attributed to plant magic. She could create vegetation anywhere and everywhere, making them produce fruit and grain. She'd ask him about the rebirth magic that the Book of Providence talked about, but Claude told her no such magic existed for any attribute. Seeing that she possessed special magic, she was eager to refine it. However, Claude told her to forget about it for a while and forbade her from telling anyone she had such an ability. To work on her plant magic, he asked her to try making a seedling grow. As she brought out her wand, he explained that wands worked by focusing the magic in her body on a single point. The chant was the switch to activate the magic. Finally, she needed to imagine the seedling growing. The more vivid her mental picture, the stronger the magic. Following her master's words, Spica chanted the spell, and to her surprise, it was able to make the seedling grow. While she was very excited, Claude showed no reaction. He told her that activating the magic was only the very first step. It was like riding a bike with training wheels. She was still far from being a first-class magician who could undo this curse. This was the first time Spica had ever used magic. The least he could do was praise her a little. The image of the hero she had in her head was shattered. All she could do now was dedicate her life to the study of magic. Claude then asked if she stopped the magic after casting. Suddenly, the plant vines tangled around her and lifted her into the air. She needed to control her magic properly. After a day of training, Claude realized he had greatly underestimated her. Never in his teaching career has he had a student who was so bad at controlling magic. Spica was all tangled up in a freaky position by the plant. When she got down, she wondered if she really had no talent. Bold of her to assume there was talent in the first place. At this rate, she might not pass the exams. Her little brother would come over, saying that her mom was calling. The family finances were in trouble. At the Virgo farm, Spica's mom told her she broke her leg falling from a ladder. Because of this, she couldn't harvest the fruit. She asked Spica to harvest them instead, but her daughter had to prepare for exams. Claude then approached them, suggesting that Spica harvest the fruit using magic. It'd be killing 2 birds with 1 stone. She felt it was impossible, but without the income, she wouldn't be able to pay her entrance fees. So, he proposed that for the half year until the exam, she would use her magic to do all the farm work. Whether or not it would help Spica pass was up to her. Using her magic, she tried to harvest some fruit. However, the vine would shoot out aggressively towards her. Luckily, it stopped right in her face, but she smashed the first fruit. Things actually went better than before. That was because she was able to vividly imagine how things would go. Because she'd been helping on the farm since she was little, Spica knew the height of the trees, how the branches grew, and how the fruit felt in her hand. Claude would then take the smashed fruit to snack on. And so, Spica's life as a farmer began. During winter, in February, she'd start by harvesting oranges. Nose oranges were in season. It was a sweet, seedless variety that was very enjoyable. Sadly, Spica would have a hard time controlling her magic to harvest them. In April, it was time for pruning. She'd have to trim extraneous branches to improve sun exposure and airflow. Instead of using scissors, she'd adjust the lengths of the branches with magic. Crimson oranges were a lot sweeter once it became warmer. Plus, there was a lot more she needed to do in preparation for harvest. Dealing with insects, birds, and weather was no easy task. She was left exhausted every day, but the more effort she put in, the more delicious the oranges would become. Half a year later, Spica skillfully used her magic to harvest the oranges. She finished the entire harvest in half a day. Her mom was so proud seeing her daughter become a professional farmer. And now, she was ready to grow the best oranges in the world. Wait, she had to become a magician first. Realizing that she'd spent the past 6 months farming, Spica feared this might not be enough to pass the exams. Claude didn't even give her a bit of encouragement. The Diana exams were different every time. Only 1 person in 10 made it in. It was a matter of luck. Hearing that, Spica dropped the orange, losing all hope. The next day, Arya laughed at her, letting her know she had no chance. It was a miracle Spica even learned to use magic. It weighed her down. Even her backpack felt heavier today. Diana applicants were then called to board the carriages. On the way to the venue, Spica was even more anxious. She viewed everyone else here as a rival, and a lot of them looked tough. On the other hand, Arya saw herself as number 1, so no one else mattered to her. As they got into the mountains, rocks fell from the cliff, blocking their passage. Those rocks would merge together, forming a golem. The monster sent the carriage flying away. While Spica tried to get back up, Claude popped out of her bag, explaining that someone was controlling the golem from the shadows. Standing in front of it, Arya remained unfazed. Using her Aquarius magic, Hydro Cannon, she blasted the golem apart. Claude would praise her excellent magic instincts. Nevertheless, that attack wasn't enough to stop it. The golem would slowly reconstruct itself. Still, it had a weakness. Spica had learned about it back at the library. Golems always had a core that functioned as their heart. Looking closer, she was able to find it. The word Emeth was inscribed on the core to give the golem life, but erasing the first letter so that it read meth would make the golem return to the earth. Spica wanted to go tell Arya. However, Claude would stop her, saying she had to defeat it. Spica was too scared, so Claude reminded her of her dream to become a first-class magician. Just as Arya was about to smash into bits, Spica came to her rescue, using the plant magic to pull her away. Despite trembling from head to toe, Spica was determined to become a magician who could protect the people around her. She then asked Arya to smash the golem again, so she could take out the core. But Arya didn't have enough magic left to shoot something that big. As they dodged the golem's attack, another person was about to be sent to their maker. That's when Spica rushed in and held the golem down. Seeing Spica's magic, Arya was shocked, wondering what type of magic this was. By working that huge orchid all on her own every day, Spica developed stamina and control over magic. Focusing on one kind of magic also helped her to master it in a short time. On the other hand, Arya didn't like this one bit. She wanted Spica to remain the derpy klutz who didn't get rewarded for her efforts. That's what made her cute. The golem then fell apart, exposing its core. It was now or never, but it wouldn't be that easy. Hurling rocks at her, the golem didn't give Spica any chance to attack. Arya would then conjure a water sphere to protect her. As soon as the barrier came down, Spica splashed the core, defeating the golem. Arya wondered when she got so strong, but Spica gave it to all her support and luck. But one didn't defeat a golem by mere luck alone. That was what the vice principal of Diana Academy, Justice Libra, said as he floated down towards the examinees. He let them know this was the end of the surprise exam. The other examinees complained. If they'd known, they'd have fought back as well. At least, that's how losers think. Magic could be good or evil depending on who wielded it. According to Justice, the Academy valued the qualities of those with healthy souls. He had taken the liberty of observing their aptitudes without notice. This was to see how they'd respond to threats. Would they flee for their lives, make full use of their magic, protect themselves, help others, or confront the enemy? Arya could be somewhat reckless, but she was quick to take initiative. She was perfectly magically capable. Spica, on the other hand, lacked variety in her magic, but she had the courage to act for the sake of others. In recognition of their quick thinking in defeating the golem, they were deemed to have passed the practical section of the exam. Although she passed, Arya felt unsatisfied. Meanwhile, Spica could hardly believe it. Claude told her to calm down because this was just the starting line. As usual, he was a buzzkill. But as he praised her for standing firm and fighting well, Spica saw an image of him in her mind for a second. Her face turned red with embarrassment. Getting a bit of praise from this black cat made her so happy. Regardless, she could have never fought the golem without his direction. So, maybe Claude Sirius was really that amazing. At liking the video and subscribing to my channel, because here on my Shoujo Weekly, I do fancy myself as a connoisseur of wizards and witches. It's definitely my Harry Potter upbringing. Subscribo Patrono! Now you have to subscribe. The Witch Hat World Tree was one of the Aradia Kingdom's tourist hotspots. It was 1,000 years old and stood 900 meters tall. Beyond its tunnel was the Royal Diana Academy of Magic. Diana was established roughly 1,000 years ago by the founding witch, Selene. Between its middle school and high school divisions, it had over 600 students. Standing in its hallways, Spica couldn't believe she was actually at Diana. She found everything about this place so pretty, and the uniforms were so cute. Claude then approached her, asking her to calm down because her stupidity was showing. Oh no, did she kiss his butt again? She was shocked to see her master, but he told her to refer to him as Professor Claude. No one here was supposed to know she was his apprentice. His cat transformation had to be kept a secret too, so she asked him to be careful. This morning, she had to kiss his butt, and as always, it was not a fun experience. He'd apologized for making her go through that, but there was no way he could teach in his cat form. Either way, they had to cooperate because they had a common goal: to make Spica a first-class magician. Claude was happy to work with her, but she felt like she was being hoodwinked by a bad man. He also said he'd talk to the principal about her coven. Spica had no idea what that was, but before he could explain, Principal Jean Orion approached them. She seemed surprisingly quite young. She then mentioned the school was buzzing with the news of Claude's return, though it was mostly people bad-mouthing him. In order not to cause confusion amongst students, Jean asked him to wait in her office until the covens were announced. Before leaving with her, he whispered to Spica to stay out of trouble. As they walked away, Jean showed another side of her, asking where her dumbass apprentice ran off to, referring to him, of course. Claude could only backhand compliment her, saying she looked as beautiful as she was 2 years ago. What kind of magic was that? She told him to watch his tone, and made it clear that she only gave him back his job out of the kindness of her heart. While wondering what to do, Spica heard someone screaming for help. There was a girl stuck in the wall. She explained that she slipped and fell and somehow ended up in the wall. That doesn't even make sense. Using all her strength, Spica managed to pull her out, and the girl was so sexy, Spica was flustered. Holy, this girl is huge. She introduced herself as Io Taurus. They were both in the same year. Io's chest size made Spica wonder how this was possible. She'd find out from Io that a coven was basically her class. A coven at Diana consisted of 12 students and a teacher. They would spend 3 years studying, eating, and living together. That meant whoever her teacher was really important. Spica hoped she'd end up with nice people, and Io assured her everyone here was kind and diligent. Apparently, she'd been going to Diana since middle school. They'd leave together to go check the bulletin boards. On their way, Spica accidentally bumped into a beautiful young man. She was flush as he complimented her beauty. But Astrea Libra went ahead to compliment EO as well. In the end, he was just a horn dog. Upon seeing another lady, Astrea would immediately chase after her. EO recalled he was the vice principal's son. At this point, Spica started to wonder if this school was really okay. Astrea finally caught up to the lady, grabbing her hand. He'd nearly get his head blown off because the person was actually another handsome guy, known as Castor Gemini. Even Spica had mistaken him for a girl. Pissed off for getting his hands touched, Castor threatened to kill Astrea. They'd start arguing, but before a fight could break out, Regulus Leo would jump down from the chandelier, stopping them. Spica marveled at Regulus's muscular body. It seemed like she was more of muscle than brains. Castor insisted on fighting, bringing out his wand. Regulus decided she'd have to stop him, and Astrea wasn't left out. So much for a school of diligent students. This wasn't what Spica was promised. Before Astrea could finish casting a spell, Castor attacked him with a flurry of punches, but Astrea's keen senses were enough for him to dodge those attacks. Using his Gemini magic, Mirror Augment, Castor would duplicate himself. Refusing to be left out, Regulus used her beast transformation magic to lunge at Castor, slamming him into the wall. For her own safety, Spica realized she needed to keep her distance from these crackheads for the next 3 years. A rock fell on her head, causing EO to be worried. Matter of fact, she became furious because her savior was hurt. Using her own magic, she became a giant. Spica warned that her underwear was showing, and EO got flustered enough to hit her head on the ceiling, causing her to fall towards Spica. Just as Spica was about to be flattened, that's when Claude showed up, holding up EO with his magic. Then, he announced that as of today, Astrea, Castor, Regulus, EO, and Spica were now part of the Claude Coven and his students. Hearing this, Spica freaked out. How was she going to get through the next 3 years with these people? Earlier on, in Jean's office, she told Claude she allowed him to return because he was her apprentice, and she'd also let him have Spica in his coven. However, the public wouldn't accept it so easily. True or not, the rumor that he fled had the students suspicious of him. He was no longer in the same position as before. So, to dispel their doubts, she'd give him a test. She picked out students with high potential for his coven, but they were each a little troublesome. He was to bring these 12 students together and make sure they all graduated without a single one dropping out. Seeing himself back at the podium, Claude was determined to take care of all his students. This was the beginning of his new teaching life. Suddenly, he transformed back to a cat. Due to levitating that big body, he used up all his magic. With no other choice, he begged Spica to undo his curse, showing a cute expression. But Spica ran away, and so, on the first day of class, due to his absence, class was cancelled. The next morning, Spica woke up as EO used her incredible strength to pick up her bed, eager to take her to school. Eventually, Spica got ready, and on their way out, they'd greet the dorm mother. During breakfast, Regulus told them that their ruckus spoiled her elegant tea time. While the others had breakfast, there was something else Spica had to do every morning. She'd go into Claude's room, and the dorm mother saw a bright light flash inside. But she couldn't believe her ears, hearing Spica complain about kissing Claude every morning. Once Claude turned back into a human, he pointed out 2 things. Using serious magic would make him revert to being a cat, and by the end of the day, Spica's rebirth magic wore off, making him turn back into a cat as well. Spica could only use her magic once a day. She needed to sleep to replenish it. Claude hated living like this, so he needed her to become a first-class magician by the time she graduated. To do that, she needed to qualify for first class in the annual rating exam at the Royal Palace. It was said only 0.005% of magicians made it. Only one person from Diana had ever made it, even as prestigious as it was. Of course, that was none other than Claude himself. Over the next 3 years, Spica's goal was to become the top student in her year. Otherwise, she wouldn't make it first class. If her grades fell behind, she'd be expelled. Per Diana policy, the bottom 10% got kicked out every year. As he left the room and greeted the dorm mother, she impulsively called him an animal, convinced there was a scandalous relationship going on between him and Spica. We turned to Gukrux, the North School wing. Here, students joined with those from other covens to take class in fundamental subjects, such as astronomy. The teacher was so fast, Spica could barely keep up. Meanwhile, the girl next to her was fast asleep and drooling. When she tried to wake her, Spica got yelled at by the teacher and was asked to state the equation for universal gravitation. He explained it just now, but Spica was clueless. The girl who was asleep, Yui Aries, suddenly stood up and stated the equation. After that, she fell back asleep. Was she even awake when she answered? Seeing how she couldn't keep up, Spica wondered if she was just stupid. Next, in Claude's class, he'd be assessing their abilities by having them capture the most Lophorns within 30 minutes. Though they looked cute, Lophorns were destructive animals. Normal people had a hard time catching them, but he believed his capable Diana students would have no trouble. On his mark, the Lophorns were released. Using her spell, Spica sprouted roots from the ground. However, she'd be shocked to see how fast one Lophorn really was. Lophorns were known to use their horns to detect magic. They'd run away the moment they sensed even a little. While the students struggled, Hannah used Scorpio magic to stun the Lophorns. Her paralyzing magic was very effective, but the collateral damage was a problem. Likewise, Tart, with his cancer magic, erected walls around the animals, trapping them. On the other hand, Spica, who was still trying to figure out how to capture the targets, suddenly got hit by one of the Lophorns. Shortly after, the test came to an end, with Arya in first place. She had caught 10 of them. Spica was in last place with 0 catches. After the Lophorn headbutted her, she passed out, and when she came to, it was over. Furious, Claude questioned if she had any sense at all, then decided to set remedial lessons for her after school. At this rate, she was going to get expelled. At night, Spica was riddled with sadness. It was her first day, and she was already falling behind. If only she could do a little better. Never mind being top of her year. She needed to avoid expulsion. She met up with Claude, and he started scolding her. She didn't appreciate that. She let him know they could have done the remedial lessons in his office. Looking around, she asked where they were, and Claude explained it was the observatory. Waving his hand, he cast visualization and levitation magic on the entire room. Spica admired the stars around. The big, bluish-white one was Spica, same as her name. Although it looked like a star, it was actually 2 stars spinning so rapidly that they looked like one. The light they produced was said to be 20,000 times that of the sun. The point Claude was trying to make was that even if one could only produce so much light, 2 together could produce incredible power. Spica figured he was trying to cheer her up, and he felt embarrassed. After having a laugh, she felt so much better. She didn't think he'd look out for her like this. With Claude, Spica felt like she could really become a first-class magician. But now, her remedial lessons would start, and he wouldn't let her go home until she caught 12 Lophorns. Alright, things are getting interesting with the classmates introduced. How do you guys feel about the series so far? Subscribe for future parts, but for now, watch this next video. It's me, ComfyTea. I'll see you all in the next one.